With the NFL draft just a little bit over a week away, the Baltimore Ravens cannot afford to make any mistakes. They can't afford to have any mishaps going into the 2025 season. Every move that they make this offseason is going to be critical to what's going to happen during this season and beyond. And yesterday, the Baltimore Ravens had the Liars Luncheon, where Eric DeCosta came up there and spoke about some teams, the direction of the team, some things that he had on his mind. Reporters had a bunch of questions that they wanted to ask him. And for me, right off the bat, when I started listening to this press conference, I just zoned out. After just hearing the first few minutes of it, I kind of went elsewhere. The first thing that he talked about was being that the Baltimore Ravens are a BPA, a best player available type team when it comes to the NFL draft. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this is a load of bullshit. It's a crock of mess that really is not true. And this is the line, this is some of the things that they feed you, and they want you to believe that the Ravens go out here and they don't draft for need. They draft players that are the best player that is on their board. Knowing the track record of the general manager, I can't believe it. If you think about it, Hollywood Brown. I am a Hollywood fan. I love Hollywood Brown. But was he the best player available when they took him at 25? He was not. Not even close. And I'm not even just talking about the best wide receiver. He was not the best player at that time. Then when we went to go draft Patrick Queen, we just lost CJ Mosley. Was he the best player at the time? He was not. Another draft for need that they want to mask as BPA. When the Ravens traded Orlando Brown in that high second round pick and got another first round pick in return, and the Ravens drafted Odafe Owe, was he the best player available? He was not. So this narrative that the Ravens draft the best player available is a crock and a load of nonsense. I understand it's a liar's luncheon, but they've said this for the longest time, and it is truly not true. Then he talked about the players in the trenches, and he said that he wanted to have the most powerful offensive and defensive lines possible. You cannot tell me from watching years of tape, from watching years of practice, from watching game film, that you thought Pat McCarthy was one of the more powerful offensive linemen. That's not power to me. That's a utility guy that you just threw in because you did not have a plan for this offensive line. This is when I really started to zone out, and I just really didn't pay attention. But then I heard him mention about the 11 draft picks. They asked him, did he feel the need to have and draft all 11 draft picks? And he said, yeah, listen, I view draft picks as currency. Like, you can trade up, you can trade back, you can do a myriad of things when it comes to the draft, having a bevy of picks. But the part that just confounded me, just befuddled me, and just had me like, huh? He said that, yeah, you can draft 11 players, but we have a good team. So all 11 players are probably not going to make this roster. So if you have 11 picks and you know all 11 are not going to make this roster, even when we had 9 picks, 7 picks, a lot of them didn't make the roster. We had 5 picks. Sean Wade got let go. Like, it's a bunch of people that you know aren't going to make the squad. And if you know this going in, why are you going to draft people just to draft them? Why not package some picks and move up? I don't care if you move up 3 spots, 5 spots. Why just keep bringing in people that you know you're going to cut during training camp or right after? So these things kind of had me zoning out, and I'm just like, all right, here we go again with the same old nonsense. But then he brought up the Mark Andrews thing. And I think that the elephant in the room is going to be, what is going to be the future of Mark Andrews when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens? And he said, yes, Mark Andrews is a warrior. He played great for us. He played his butt off. He is a great player. And we as a team are in the business of keeping great players, but then turned right around and said, the draft is so unpredictable. You never know. What does that mean? Do not tell me I'm a great player and then turn around and talk about the uncertainty of what may happen during the draft. And it actually had me thinking, we may be going about this all the wrong way. The thought process for a lot of us may be just a little bit off. It had me thinking some things like, we're sitting here thinking, hey, could the Ravens move on from Mark Andrews, kind of do something with that $16.9 million cap hit? Yes, we gave him that $4 million roster bonus, but the $17 million cap hit is kind of hindering the team, especially being that we have some positions that we need to fill and we don't have the money to get it. But then I thought to myself, what if Mark Andrews wants to move on from the Ravens? And it's not that he doesn't love this team, he doesn't love the city, he doesn't love his teammates. What if the embarrassment and all that happened in the playoffs last year may be a little bit too much for him to bear? Because if you think about it, he didn't talk to reporters right after the game. He didn't talk to reporters during exit interviews. And they said he talked to reporters by putting out a tweet. That's not speaking to the media. That's putting out a tweet on social media. That's putting out a message in social media. That's not talking to anybody. And Mark Andrews has not shown his face all off season. Maybe his mindset is one of, I let my teammates down. I let Lamar Jackson down. Now he's gone under fire because of something that I did. And maybe it may be too much for him to bear. You just never know. So it may not be an instance of the Ravens want to move on from Mark Andrews and they're trying to trade him to lower the cap hit and get draft picks, or possibly keep him around to get that fourth round possible comp pick for next season. It just may be the fact that Mark Andrews thinks that there may be greener pasture somewhere else, or maybe he needs a change of scenery to get his mind right. Because for me as a competitor, the one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to let other people down. Now, if I let myself down and I fail because of me and the consequences are mine alone, that's cool. But if I have a bunch of other men, 52 other men on a roster, and I kind of stop them from getting to their ultimate goal, it's going to weigh heavy on my soul. So maybe he wants to move on. And then DeCosta spoke about, hey, have we ever traded a pick during the draft? And it's like, hello, Hollywood Brown. And he's like, no, that didn't happen. We traded him 4 days prior. We just didn't tell you until the draft. Semantics. Potato. You traded him during the draft. Whatever. So that brought me to the thought process of, it may be a Hollywood Brown situation. I need to get out. I'm keeping things under wraps. The Ravens may be in negotiations to acquiesce to his demands because they respect him as a player. They respect what he's done for this organization, and they want to do what's best for him. But more importantly, you get into the conundrum of making the mistake of possibly stunting the growth of the other tight ends that you have on this roster. Because to me, this is a big move. What you do with Mark Andrews has repercussions for the rest of the season and what goes on after. Are you going to re-sign him next year? Because if you think about it, he's going to need a new contract. Isaiah Likely is going to need a new contract. Charlie Kolar is going to need a new contract. So those are 3 tight ends. We have no tight ends under contract currently. And if the Ravens want to jump ahead and kind of extend Likely before next season, where does that leave Mark Andrews? So you have him on the last year of his deal. How is that going to help out the team? But more importantly, the Ravens have so many moving pieces when it comes to money and players that they have to re-sign. What are they going to do with Kyle Hamilton's 5th-year option? $18 million. I'm going to pick it up. Tyler Linderbaum, his $23 million option. They may franchise tag him depending upon the slight difference in money. But the Ravens have other free agents that they need to take care of. What do you do with Kyle Van Noy? If he decides that he wants to play, are you going to re-sign him? Odafe Owe is on his 5th-year option. He's going to need an extension, or he's going to need to be re-signed. What are you going to do with Travis Jones? And then you have Daniel Falele, who's in the last year of his deal. So they have a lot of key pieces for the 2025 team that they have to make decisions on. And then Lamar Jackson's cap hit jumps up to $74 million. Like, that's a lot of money that the Ravens have to kick out. So what are they going to do with Mark Andrews going forward? That is the big question. But the good thing is we are about a week and a day away from finding out all that is going to happen. Because we've seen Isaiah Likely look like a number 1 tight end when Mark Andrews wasn't on the field. To some, Likely is the better player. He has more wiggle. Like, he has an option to, once he catches the ball, to make people miss and run by. Mark Andrews, he's a straight line runner. He'll run past you. If not, he's going to run right into you. He's not juking the soul. So what do you do? What are the Ravens going to do when it comes to this tight end position? What are they going to do when it comes to these roster moves? So with all that being said, the Ravens have to make and re-sign key players, the right players. Then they have to go into this draft thinking about the players that they may possibly lose and compensate for that. So now you're not only drafting best player available, you're also drafting for future needs. Eric DeCosta is not in an enviable spot right now. I wouldn't want to be in his position because he has to actually work this offseason to make the 2026 Baltimore Ravens competitive. Now, I know we're worried about 2025 right now, but we want to be competitive this year and beyond. So all of these moving parts, all of these moving pieces are going to have ramifications when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens team. And then what happens with Derrick Henry? And Derrick Henry should, by all intents and purposes, get an extension. But Eric DeCosta said, listen, it's going to get done sooner or later. We don't know. We got to move some money around and see what we're going to do with the players that we're trying to sign. He's technically under contract till the end of the year, so maybe they'll cross that bridge when they come to it. So the 2026 Baltimore Ravens could look quite different. Now, there is a move that the Ravens flock, or a lot of the flock, wants the Baltimore Ravens to make. Jalen Ramsey and the Miami Dolphins have, mutually decided It's time for a trade. It's time for me to skedaddle on out of here and find another team. And a lot of Ravens flock. They want Jalen Ramsey. But Jalen Ramsey, and I love Jalen Ramsey, he's a Florida State Seminole and a darn good cornerback. He had an off year last year, his first year since his rookie year. He did not make the Pro Bowl, but he comes with a $21 million price tag. And for some reason, people are fine with that. They're okay with paying $21 million for a guaranteed upgrade from Brandon Stevens. And I'm not mad about that. What I'm upset about, I'm not even gonna say upset. What perturbs me a little bit is the fact that the hypocrisy runs deep. Anytime that there's a wide receiver out there, anytime that there's an offensive lineman, even when we talked about getting Saquon Barkley, it was, this ain't Madden. We can't afford it. But when it comes to defensive players, even back when we tried to get Darius Slay, we always want to find the money. When it came up for Xavier Howard and this $15 million, and I think that we had $900,000 under the cap, but we wanted to take on Xavier Howard's $15 million salary in a trade, and people were fine with it. Offensively, we always have a problem and make excuses why, we can't afford him. It's just too much money. Why would you pay that much money for this type player? But now we're going to be okay with paying $21 million for an older corner who I think next season has another $25 million cap hit, and that's fine. I don't get it. I understand the upgrade in the position, but I don't understand the money that's being paid for it. And I don't understand why offensively people don't have or carry that same energy that they do for the defense. You want the best players on defense. You don't want guys learning on the job. But on offense, we can experiment and play around and do whatever and hope Lamar Jackson figures it out on his own. And to me, that is truly, truly unacceptable. But regardless if the Ravens get Jalen Ramsey, they're in a good position to make it to the Super Bowl this season. It's just dependent upon what they do with this roster and how they do in this year's draft.